Okay, I want to welcome you to today's lecture, which happens to be our last lecture for project management and planning. The last time we were, that was on Monday, we were looking at the risk minimization. I would say it is just the process of trying to see that you prepare for risk and see how you are going to minimize the risks as they happen. We looked at a good number of things, and for today, I want to look at risk mitigation. So we are continuing from where we left last time. So after the risk has been identified and evaluated, the project team develops a risk mitigation plan, which is a plan to reduce the impact of an expected event. So what we said last time when we met was that you cannot afford to go without planning for the risks, because as you execute or during the course of the project, you may find out that there is a problem that may occur or something which may cause your project not to run as it was planned. As such, it is very much important for you to look at all possible causes. Anything that can just come and disturb your project. All those things they are listed before a project starts so that you prepare for them. So that if anything occurs, it finds you that you are already prepared, not to be caught unaware. Yes. So when you look at risk mitigation, I don't know if I had explained this, but risk mitigation is just the issue of you trying to reduce the impact of the risk. So if at all you want to reduce the impact of the risk or unexpected event, there is a plan which you need to do before you begin your project. So the project team mitigates risks in various ways. And one of the ways, or some of the ways which risks can be mitigated are risk avoidance, risk sharing, risk reduction, and risk transfer. There are 4 ways in which the project team can mitigate risks. This one should be taken care of. It may come in your, if I don't have anything which I'm going to bring in the exam, it's just on this very part. The ways in which risks can be mitigated: risk avoidance, risk sharing, risk reduction, risk transfer. Those are the 4 ways in which a risk can be mitigated. So before I go any further, let me ask for credit or questions. Is there any questions so far? Madam Mirimo, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So we're looking at risk planning for what may cause your project to not to be delivered in a way in which it was supposed to. And for tonight, I was saying we're looking at risk mitigation. Mitigation, to mitigate, is just to reduce the impact. That is to mitigate. If you remember how we explained it, to mitigate is where that guy had brought a table so that if at all that other guy fails on that cliff, he may find somewhere to land on. So the ways in which you can mitigate or you can reduce the impact, there are 4 ways. The first one is risk avoidance, risk sharing, risk reduction, and the risk transfer. I was saying take care of this because a question may be popped there that can you list the ways in which risks can be mitigated in a project? So each of these mitigation techniques can be an effective tool in reducing individual risk and the risk profile of the project. So the risk mitigation plan, it captures the risk mitigation approach for each identified risk event and the actions the project management team will take to reduce it or eliminate the risk actually. So each of them will find that it is intended to reduce the risks or the risk that may pertain to each problem or each product or project. So let's look at what risk avoidance is. Maybe before I go any further to explain, is there anyone who can just tell us what you think risk avoidance is? What is the risk avoidance? What do you think?
By risk avoidance, this is, we can just say that it's just an alternative way of
Yes.
an alternative way that you use, or rather I would say an idea of what you can use to avoid such a risk to happen on a certain event.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's good. I appreciate for that contribution. An alternative way which you can just use so that you avoid the risk. Madam Lenient, do you have something to say on the risk avoidance?
I think it's similarly. Yeah, we're all diverting from the risk, maybe.
Okay. So you may find out that, thank you very much, Madam Lenient, for that contribution. So it's just one of the same thing which you have said and which it is actually is. So you'll find that when we are talking about risk avoidance, there are times when you can, maybe there is a certain way how you have set your project that it should run. By a project, I'm talking about the whole thing. But now let's just pick one component, maybe one activity which you, let's say maybe an activity of, if you are building, you're having a building project, and the bags of cement that you intended to buy, you were supposed to use, what's the cheapest mode of transport which you can talk about? You can talk of. Okay, let's say you hoped to use some lifters, like guys who can lift the pockets of cement from a certain point to another point. That's quite all right. That's cheaper on your side. And why you are doing that is because you tend to be funded as a project manager, or a project tends to be funded, and you try by all means to reduce. Well, we have seen people reducing the costs by using the cheap labor or cheap ways of doing things. Now, there is a risk of those people maybe failing to do the work or stealing as they are transporting those pockets, because it's them who will have to lift them. Now, you avoid that risk. You use an alternative strategy, which may be costly on your side, by hiring a truck. Because you know a truck, you just have to count the number of pockets of cement when a project or where you are buying the pockets of cement. And again, you count them again when they are offloading them. So when you use risk avoidance, the way which you use may be a bit costly, or the alternative way, it will be higher in terms of costs as compared to the one which you had to use, because that is the only way which you had, and you discovered that actually it has more risk, or it is a risk for you to do that. Now, how do you avoid it? Is by using an alternative way. But that alternative way, if you avoid that other one, it will mean it will have to have higher costs, or it have higher costs, so that the risk it is reduced. I think I've explained on that one. Do you have any question on the risk avoidance? Hello?
I want to understand something before we go any further.
Yes.
Yes. Why is it that this mitigation risk is the one that has got more impact? By saying so, I'm referring to what you told us to say. There are types of I don't know where we said there is one where you accept the risky, and
Yes.
so that one falls under what? If these are also where we are saying there are 4 ways on how to do what? I mean, to prevent, or rather to minimize the risks. Now, what about those ones that you gave us? They fall under which category?
Thank you very much. It's a good question.
Because I might get confused when you ask such a question, because I might just share all of them.
Okay. When we looked at here, this was when I was introducing the risk planning.
Management plan, yes.
That there are 4 ways.
There are 4 ways, yes.
Yes. The first one, yes. We had we have the project. The other way, the first one is the avoidance. We have mitigation. We have transfer, and we have accept. And we came here to say avoidance, the best thing to do with where you avoid completely, you put away the risk. This one we just said it's a way. Where we said there are 4 basic ways to handle risk. How you can handle risk? You can handle them in 4 ways.
Oh, these are basics.
Yes.
On how to handle risks. Okay.
The basic ways. It is where you avoid, you mitigate, you transfer, or
accept.
Or you accept. Those are the basic ones.
Okay. But now these ones that we are talking about, the 4 ones, the other risk avoidance, sharing, reduction, and transfer.
Yes, those. Sorry, come again on your question.
I'm saying now, where we are looking at risk avoidance, risk sharing, risk reduction, what I want is to know, or rather to differentiate how the question will come. on this. If someone can ask to say, okay, list 4 basic ways on how to do what? List 4 ways of
There are basic ways how to.
Yes,
There are
which is
basic ways to handle a risk.
okay.
You see? And then
Yes,
there are several ways on how to mitigate. Now, that one is just under mitigation.
okay. Okay, it's under mitigation. Okay. All right. I wanted to more clarification
So,
over that.
Under mitigation, that's where we have network is a bit poor here, so not moving as the way I want. If you remember what I said, what we said on the mitigation, that mitigation is just there to eliminate or minimize the impact of the risk event. Are you getting that one?
Yes.
To minimize or to do what? Eliminate the impact of the risk. Now, in those ways, this is where we are saying, after you have identified the risk and you have done all what? We came direct here at the risk mitigation. Risk evaluation. Where are we? Okay. Risk mitigation, where we have said there are various ways in which you can mitigate. To mitigate is to do what?
To minimize.
Or to reduce the impact. The risk avoidance is where you are not completely avoiding the risk. Are you getting it?
Yes.
You should understand the 4 basic ways of handling a risk. The first one, the basic way, is to avoid. Where you avoid is completely you avoid. Like you don't go for it. I don't know if I tell you able to get the difference there.
On 4 basic ways, when we say to avoid, we avoid completely.
Yes, completely. You don't, you stop doing that particular thing.
Okay.
You get it?
I get it there.
Now here we are looking at mitigation, where we said it's where you minimize or reduce the impact, not completely avoiding it. No.
Okay. Okay.
This is where the first point on risk avoidance, the explanation there, it is that when you avoid, when we are avoiding this risk, we are not completely doing away with it, but we are just looking for an alternative
to minimize,
which will be a bit costly on our side. We are just avoiding it. We're not completely, well, yeah, we're just minimizing, we're just reducing. Is it clear?
Very clear now.
And the other one is risk sharing. Risk sharing, you are not doing away, we're just minimizing, where you share the risks with the partners or with others. That's clear. Risk sharing involves partnering with others to share responsibility for the risk activities. Many organizations that work on international projects will reduce political, legal, labor, and other risk types associated with international projects by developing a joint venture with a company located in that country. Is that clear?
Yes.
So risk sharing is where you are partnering with another company. Let's say there's a company from America that wants to come and do business here. But because they don't know the happenings of here, like how everything is done, what do? They'll partner with a company which is here so that if it so happens that the government closes or anything happens, they will not be the one to entirely lose. Are you getting that one? So, partnering with another company to share the risk associated with a portion of the project is advantageous when the other company has expertise and experience. And has experience, the project team does not, which the project team does not have. This is where they usually say in business, you cannot do everything. Sometimes you need to partner with those people who are experienced in that particular business. Don't say that you are the ones who have got the money, because you may have the money, but you don't have the skill to do it. What do? Identify somebody who is experienced in that particular thing, or who is coming from that same particular company, or I mean, not company, but area. You can have money and you want to start doing the business of carpenter. Let's say you want to venture in carpenter. You are staying here in Lusaka and the business is in Siavonga. In Siavonga, there may be somebody that side who does not have the capital. What do? You join together, make a joint there. So why you are doing that is to minimize the risk of you running losses as you have ventured in that particular business. So because that particular person will be part and parcel of that particular project, you find that you will minimize the risk because they will do their level best, make sure that things become success. Other than that, is that because the person you have engaged is experienced and is from that particular area, the risks of you failing in that business, they reduce because you are using somebody who is experienced. So risk sharing is very much important as we are considering doing whichever contract or whichever business that you may do. And then there is the risk reduction. So risk reduction is an investment on funds to reduce the risks on your project. On international projects, companies will often purchase the guarantee of a currency rate to reduce the risk associated with the fluctuation in the currency exchange rate. A project manager may hire an expert to review the technical plan or cost estimate on the project to increase confidence in that plan and reduce the project risk. Assigning highly skilled project personnel to manage the high-risk activities is another risk reduction method. So for you to reduce the risk, how risk can be reduced is by you investing some funds. How do you do that? You don't just invest the funds that go in the water, but you are hiring or you are looking for somebody who is experienced, somebody who is an expert in that particular field. If you involve somebody who is an expert in a particular field, what happens is that your risk of failure, it will reduce because that particular person knows quite a good number of things. That's why for any project, if you remember when we started, we said it is more risky for a company to start a project without a project manager. Because some people may think it is just okay to do a project even without a project manager, as long as the people to operate, since a project manager may be expensive. So they can just use the people who are around to work. But that is very much a risk to you because the failure of that project or the rate of failure of that particular project is high. As such, that's why we are saying risk reduction is done by investing some funds. Look for somebody who is an expert in that particular thing. And once they do it, or when they do it, you reduce the risks of failing. You want to venture in a particular project or a business, don't think you can do it all. Sometimes you can involve somebody, engage somebody whom you see that is an expert in that particular thing, and pay them. They will do things which are sensible. Unlike you forcing yourself to do a particular work which you may not sure of. I hope that one is very much clear. That's why they've given an example here that for an overseas company which wants to come and invest in a domestic company or in a domestic country, I mean in a country, what they will do is they will study, they will analyze the markets and analyze the exchange rate. But how are they going to do that? They will call an expert, somebody who is experienced to do the analysis. Though a person may be expensive to hire, but it will be worth it at the end. Is that clear? Is that clear? Let me get feedback.
I wonder why ladies don't want to respond. But it's clear.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
I was giving a chance to other ladies to speak, but it's like they're quiet. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
They're ever quiet. Please, sir, I request that you hear from them as well. As for me, it's clear. Let
Thank
them
you
also
very much.
respond.
Madam Mirimo, are we together?
I didn't follow through because I'm currently attending to a client. So I'll just listen to the recording properly.
Okay.
Mm.
You're at the hospital? Okay. We can continue from there. He's doing some work, Madam Mirimo. So I think that one is quite clear. So let's look at risk transfer. So risk transfer is a risk reduction method that shifts the risk from the project to another party. The purchase of insurance on certain items is a risk transfer method. So risk transfer, you are just transferring your risk now. You're no longer sharing, or you're doing what? but you are transferring. How do you do that? Is by paying somebody to take the risk for you. If something bad happens, it's them who are going to incur the cost. You, it won't hurt you. Or in as much as it will hurt you, but at least it is reduced. It is minimized, the impact. That's why insurance companies are there. So if one has had purchased, or if at all you have purchased a vehicle, once you insure that vehicle, you are transferring the risk. If a car is involved in an accident, what will happen if at all it is crushed beyond repair? The company will take the scrap and they are going to buy you another car. So you have transferred the risk that in case I get in an accident, you guys should be able to get for me a new one or another car, so to say. So that's what happens with the risk transfer. You're just transferring your risk. You are shifting the risk to another party. Is that clear? We are done on that one. Then I'm just going to do contingency planning. And then within 15 minutes, I will summarize the other slides. The rest you are going to go through yourselves now. So let's look at contingency plan. So contingency planning, contingency planning, it involves, it's more like the same risk minimization or planning for risks. It's where you plan for an alternative that if plan A fails, what will be your plan B? If what you are trying to do, it will fail. Where are you going to run to? So in as much as you may have planned for the risks, that what if this project fails to be successful? I mean, what if the guy who is coming or the people who are supposed to bring I was giving an example for pockets of cement. What if those guys, they fail? So if they fail, there is something which you have put to minimize or to mitigate. But now contingency planning, it goes further. Where you plan even what may happen after the alternative that you would have put fails. So I don't know if you have understood what contingency planning is. But all in all, contingency planning and planning for risk minimization is almost one and the same. Why? It's because contingency planning, that's why here you are able to see that contingency funds are funds set aside by the project team to address unforeseen events that cause the project's cost to increase. Projects with a high risk profile will typically have a large contingency budget. Just like you're trying to plan ahead in case this happens, but this planning, does not involve in other way around except other than in funds. You are planning, trying to see that if you run out of funds, where are you going to get the other funds? So most of the budgets, you find that they tend to overshoot. So if that happens, do you have an alternative? Do you have where you can run to? So that's what contingency planning is. So I encourage that you finish this slide or Yeah, I encourage you that you finish it. I want to go to the last slide, which is slide 7. I don't know if at all there is any question on that particular thing. Slide 7. It is simple. Okay, I'm going to summarize it, and then after summarize it, and then I'm going to share it in the group. I've got about 118 pages. So slide 7 is looking at the project closure and termination. You know, each and every project, or every project, it needs to come to an end. And that's what we call the project completion. So we defined when we started project as an endeavor, which a temporal endeavor, which is done to produce some results or some marked results. It's more like you come up with deliberate efforts to make sure that you produce these results or the results. That's what we defined a project to be. We said it's something which you do on a temporary basis and which is in a unique way. But the whole purpose of doing that is for you to produce some results. So it being a project or it being on temporal basis, we said it should have a start date and an end date. Now, we are at the end of the project. So each and every project, it will have to make sure that it comes to an end. Now, for it to come to an end, it should have met the intended goals or the objectives which were set at the inception of it. So that's what project completion or project closure is. It's just at the end, when everything is done. As a project manager, what do? Do you just leave people to wander about? Or each and every person, they just leave, they go on their way? Or what do you exactly do? So project completion is often the most neglected phase of the project life cycle. Once a project is over, it is easy to pack things up, throw some files in the drawer, and start moving right into the initiation phase of the next project. Now, you should hold on. You are not yet done. So the key activity in a project completion are gathering project record, disseminating information to formalize acceptance of the project, service, or the project. So I just want to put an emphasis on this one, that once a project is done, you should not leave things. It is you, the project manager, to make sure that you organize your people. Put things that needs to be put together. Try to look, checking the records. As the project goes on, there are people who would have left or who could have left during the course of the project, because projects, they run sometimes maybe 2 years or 3 years. That's where we tend to have those contracts, which we usually have. So you need to check the records to see if at all there are other people who had left during the course of the project. Did they leave something which might have impacted the project or not? So you need to
Hello? 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 Madam Lenient, can you get me?
Good evening.
Evening, how are you, madam?
Okay.
It's like the network is bad, eh?
Yeah, actually it's cutting.
I don't know if he's still coming back or what.
Maybe wait a bit.
Wait a bit, eh?
Mm.
Okay, let us try to wait a bit.
Okay.
Because tomorrow we are writing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like where he is, network is bad, eh? Very much. Very much. Yeah, what you are very much. Honest. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
It seems like he's back now. Eh? I think we can call it a night. I doubt if he's going to come back. What do you think, madam?
I think so.
I think so. It's like the network is really bad where he is.
Mm.
All right, madam. Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm.
Good night.
Madam Agent.
Hello.
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 Yes, I had already concluded in the group. You just listen from the recording in the group.
Okay.
Yes, let me just stop the recording of the class. I was posted out at cut, but I just want to thank you. Please get through the notes and be able to see what's there at your own at any point. For tomorrow's exam, the last lecture, don't consider it. I won't get any question from it. From lecture 7.
Lecture 7?
Yes, lecture 7, I won't get anything. And then on lecture 6, just study the risks, the basic types of how to handle risk and the ways of mitigation risks. Just those. And then you can concentrate more on the past lectures now. Starting from module 1, module 2, module 3 up to module 5. There you can concentrate on those. Take care of the previous assignment which I gave you. Make sure that you know everything there. Don't leave an enemy behind where maybe you got a question, any question wrong, and you haven't sorted it out. I know I haven't yet given you your results, right?
No, I haven't.
No, I'll be able to give you the results just now. Let me just look for where I had put the papers and then I'll be able to post you.
Okay, I appreciate.
Sure. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.